What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Six. DJ, Rhett, and our good friend Bucky is back from London. Buck, first of all, congrats on a successful trip there for you and your Jags. 2 wins over there in London. How was this latest bounce back trip for you?
The latest bounce back was pretty good. I would tell you that it's probably not ideal to land in London at 10 a.m. the day of a game, do the game, and then fly back. But that's kind of what I had to do. But I can say that now that I know, I think the Jaguars are going to start doing this annually, like 2 games, maybe the back-to-back thing. So I gotta get used to it. Might be the thing.
Oh boy, man. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it last week. Like, if they beat the Bills, man, what a moment this will be for this season. And let's see if it propels them, right?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We'll talk about the Jags later, but it was like a mini training camp. They got to be away 10 days, got to get together, kind of get everything right, and then they feel like they should be good going forward.
And are you supporting the Jaguars with your with the print on your shirt today, Deej? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it's like print? A combination. It's Chargers colors, but it's Jaguars print. So it's like kind of, look, it's me and Bucky just kind of coming together, combining forces right there. I'll have you know, I almost made a par with this shirt on last week. Very close. It was very, very close.
Wow, look at you.
Anyways, all right, let's get to last night's game. Let's start there. Raiders get a much-needed win in a game that was not necessarily pleasing on the eyes. The Packers, they come up short 17-13. Buck, I don't know how much you got a chance to see of this game. See it. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is just the fact that, man, Jordan Love, for all the chest bumping, thumping that our buddy Nabil was doing as a Packer fan after the first couple weeks, it does not look great as of late.
No, it didn't look great. 3 interceptions yesterday. This team is just off in terms of just style of play and the way that I thought they were going to play, with the running game kind of leading it, him having to make plays. Just couldn't get it done. Ran around, threw it up, just made some bad plays. And really, it was kind of reminiscent to his final season at Utah State, where he had some egregious turnovers. But that turnover right there, I don't know what Nabil could do, because I would have been pulling my hair out. But just a lot of bad plays, a lot of missed throws. Just bad ball.
Yeah, especially, they should have been going in for the win. I mean, that should have been a touchdown for the Packers to take the lead to Christian Watson. That ended up being an interception. He was just late on that throw. Now, he did get pressured a little bit, I think, and Watson was open early, and then it just, he tried to throw it late. I think at that point, you just kind of take that thing down and live to play. I think it was third. So they had another shot after that point, but it ends up Amik Robertson, my fellow Louisianan, comes up with a huge play, a really nice interception in the back of the end zone to seal that thing for the Raiders. But I think you got to talk. I mean, this is Max Crosby, just continues to be probably the most relentlessly aggravating player and talented player, all wrapped up into one in the league. The 7 pressures he had essentially turned into plays that were either negative or very minimal gains. I think Jordan Love maybe scrambled out and got a few yards on one of the pressures he actually got. But the sack that he had was awesome, because it reminded me of my childhood watching Walker, Texas Ranger. DJ, I know you can relate to that with Chuck Norris,
nice.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know how when at the end, Chuck would get into these epic battles, right? With it would be him versus probably 10 to 12 different guys. And I forget what his name was. Well, it's Cordell Walker, I think was his name in the show. Yeah. So he the best part about it was all of those.
I'm sorry.
All of those
Walker.
I was trying to find the first name. Okay. And so he all those guys are super polite, right? They wait their turn to get their whooping from Walker, right? And so I felt like that's what on that sack, they send 3 layers of players at Max Crosby. Josiah DeGara is the first one. He comes in and Crosby sets him down. And then the next guy is Ben Sims, the tight end, kind of comes over. He waits his turn and he gets some from Max Crosby. The running back, who was the third layer, he just kind of bugs out. He's like, all right, I'm good with this. And Crosby eventually gets the sack. I mean, the dude, it's like you could put like multiple brick walls in front of him and he would find ways to break those things down on his way to the quarterback. It's just a lot of fun to watch.
I was trying to remember in that show, what did Walker do? What was his profession?
He was a Texas Ranger, I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was a Texas Ranger. Oh my, it was right there. Put it together. Wow.
Thinking of the first name.
Yeah, goodness gracious. Buck, a follow-up question on that. Now that we've got a chance to see the body of work, I'm always reluctant to do the Hall of Famer thing. But if right now, in their prime, would you take Max Crosby or would you take Jared Allen?
Ooh, that's a good one. Max Crosby's been balling out of control. I think the difference is Jared Allen might have had a couple more double-digit sack seasons at this stage. Max Crosby's definitely closing the gap, but right now I would take Jared Allen, but it's a nice comparison because Crosby's coming on like gangbusters.
Yeah, I think he's a little, I mean, they're both crazy long and they both have unbelievable effort. I think Max actually bends a little bit better than Jared did. Jared had just so many different moves and so many different ways to win. But I think they're very similar in terms of just the length and the unbelievable energy and passion that they play with. And Rhett, you're right. He's somebody that is much attention as he does get, he deserves more because he's up there in that elite group of edge rushers in the NFL. All right, I want to throw up a board here so we can see these teams in the AFC that are sitting at 3-2 because it's an interesting clump. You've got the Bills, you've got the Colts, you've got the Jags, the Ravens, and the Steelers. I think, especially if you look at Ravens, Steelers, Bills, I think they're probably hoping they only had one loss on the in that column right now. But all these teams sitting at 3-2. Everything though still feels like it's in front of them. Is there, it's kind of it's a little bit above average, obviously 3-2 Buck. But when you look at it, of that class of teams, Bills, Colts, Jags, Steelers, Ravens, is there one team for you that's still above that and maybe is even better than what their record is?
I would say this, and even though the Jacksonville Jaguars knocked off the Buffalo Bills, I still feel like the Bills are a dangerous team. And they're dangerous only in terms of Josh Allen's ability to put this team on his back gives them a chance to knock off anybody. The game on Sunday against the Jaguars were dominating the game, but 17 made enough plays to bring them back, to put them in a position to maybe win the game. And when you have a quarterback like that, it gives you a chance. I am willing to maybe hold out hope that the Buffalo Bills can get hot because they have a quarterback with MVP capabilities.
I was kind of looking back at what the Bills have done in a couple of their losses this season, and I was like, why are they sitting here at 3-2, right? Why did they lose week 1? Why did they lose, week 5 here against, why did they lose week 5 against the Jags? And, you kind of go back and you compile a couple of things from the season. They're feast or famine on defense, right? They're the number 1 sack team in football, right? Getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but they're giving up more explosive plays in the run game and the pass game than almost anybody. They're 31st in the league in allowing explosive runs and explosive passes. So it just kind of feels like, if they don't get home, they're giving up big plays. And that's part of why they're probably finding themselves in these situations where, Josh Allen is feeling like he's got to go out there and try to play some of that hero type stuff that, really for the 3-game stretch kind of worked out of his game this year. And then, in a couple of other, especially that opener, just felt like, you kind of had the good and the bad with Josh Allen. But I think it is kind of a complementary thing there where the defense has given up a bunch of big plays, and they've had some attrition in the secondary too, right? With Tre'Davious White out, now Matt Milano's out. And you kind of wonder if that defense can continue to kind of hold serve moving forward here.
Yeah, I still feel like in Buffalo, to put a bow on them, you've got the quarterback, you've got the coach, you've got the pass rush. Like the rest of it, I think they'll be able to figure it out. I think they could get on a little bit of a run here. Buck, your Jags, I think we're going to know a lot about your squad here once we get through this next month. October, what they have left. They've got the Colts, who are playing well. You've got the Saints coming off a huge win over the Patriots, who are a good football team. And they've got the Steelers, who are in this club with them. So I think these next 3 games, before they get into a stretch where you get San Francisco to start it off, I think this next 3 games, the month of October, is going to tell us a lot about the Jags.
Yeah, we'll tell a lot. Having been over in London, had a chance to talk with the coaches and the players. They're excited about what they were able to get done in London because it gave them a chance to reset and refocus. It was really a mini training camp. They're away for 10 days, didn't have the distractions of the city, no family around it. So they really got a chance to bond. And the thing that it did, it allowed them to really get on the same level when it came to their trust and the level of accountability, when it came to holding their teammates accountable for their own individual performances. You saw a team that was more connected, a team that executed better. And hopefully for all the Jags, they're able to kind of take that and use it as a launch point. But you're right. This next stretch with the Colts, Saints, Steelers, bye week, then Niners, you'll quickly see if the Jaguars are ready to be in that conversation as a contender, or will they scuffle just to be a playoff contender this season?
Yeah, and we go to the other team in that division that's on this list here, the 3-2 Colts. Guys, this Colts team, you look at it, that overtime loss with Puka Nacua with the walk-off in the Rams game, they pulled that one out. They're sitting here at 4-1, despite having to juggle quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson being hurt, Minshew stepping in. Looks like we'll get Minshew for a while now with that shoulder injury to Anthony Richardson. But they're a good football team. They're physical. They're really good up front along the defensive line as well. The 2 teams in the AFC North, let's start with the Steelers.
Yeah.
This is a Steelers team that, Rhett, when you look at it, it's not aesthetically pleasing at all, but they're finding a way to win these ball games, really being kind of carried by their defense. I feel like, man, this has been it's been impressive, and they're going to be over 500 because that's all Mike Tomlin does. But when you look at the schedule coming up, I think the offense, they're going to have to do a little bit more at the Rams, Jacksonville, and then you kind of get some games that are a little more in their favor. But to me, these next 2 weeks, they got to score. They got to get this offense clicking a little bit. It's not pretty.
Well, in DJ Buckley, what have we talked about a lot? What did we talk about going into the season about the Steelers? There was a commitment to upgrade the offensive line, right? And to get better up there. They draft Broderick Jones. And he's actually, I think he had his best game of the season this past week after barely playing in the first 3 weeks. So they put him out at left tackle. And I think he's kind of starting to rock and roll a little bit. Now, here's the thing that kind of, makes you scratch your head a little bit is this is a team that's still 62% pass. Right. And if you're going to make that commitment to the offensive line and you're going to try to, get things back to playing Steeler football, got to find a way to run the football a little bit here, right? I mean, they've scored 5 touchdowns. You know how many of them come on the ground? 0. And their yards before contact, it's less than 1 right now. So Najee Harris is having trouble getting going. I mean, you go back to the Browns game, it was at negative a yard, right? So they were in, the Browns defensive front is in the backfield before they could even get things going beyond the line of scrimmage there. I feel like for this Steelers team to really kind of continue making some hay, and because we saw, like, when you give George Pickens an opportunity one-on-one, Kenny Pickett's going to put it out there for him, right? You saw that at the end of the game against the Ravens, but they got to find a way to control the game with the run a bit more. It feels like that's their formula. It kind of always has been. It should be their formula moving forward, and then still have that threat of the explosive pass game, Buck.
Yeah, I'm with you, because this defense is good enough to kind of keep them in the conversation, but it's the offense that has to get up to speed. We're looking for more of the offensive line dominance at the point of attack. Want to see more Najee Harris being able to run it. But really, this is going to come down to Kenny Pickett, his performance, and the play of the perimeter playmakers. We have seen him kind of fall in love with George Pickens on the perimeter. We'll see what happens with Dante Johnson and some of these other guys. But this team not only has to be balanced, but they have to be able to find a way to generate explosive plays. The only way you score in the National Football League is you have to generate big plays. You need big plays to move and flip the field. The Steelers have to get the consistency of the running game while still making sure they generate enough big plays in the passing game.
And when you flip it over to the other team, the last team we'll hit on here, the Baltimore Ravens sitting here at 3-2. Again, they could very easily, a ball goes here or there, they could be sitting here undefeated. And as much as we've talked about how great the Steelers defense has been, the Ravens defense played really well as well. They're only giving up 15 points a game. They're tied for second in the league. So they're playing great on that side of the ball. They got to catch it better. There was 7 drops in that game last week against the Steelers. This pass game's still sitting at 26th, Buck. I mean, I think it's there. I would be encouraged of all these teams, I think, if I were the Ravens, and that I think there's more growth here. They haven't clicked yet, and I feel like it's out there for them. The plays are there. They just got to make them.
Yeah, it hasn't clicked. And you talk about the 7 drop passes. I mean, there's some bad drops, some high school level drops from the wide receivers of the Ravens. And this is a team that is making really an offensive shift, going all in with Lamar Jackson throwing the ball all over the yard. And the biggest question that anyone ever had, are they good enough on the perimeter to be able to do it? Right now, it doesn't look like that. But the great thing about the league is there's time. There's time to develop. There's time to figure it out. And maybe they can figure it out. But right now, it's been an underwhelming offensive performance due to really a spotty passing game.
Yeah, I mean, DJ and I talked about it on the Monday pod. It was just, it was a comedy of errors. Started in the second quarter down in the red zone with Mark Andrews' uncharacteristic drop, then Rashad Bateman, and then the block punt. Lamar's throwing an ill-advised, fade route to OBJ that gets picked off, and it just kind of snowballed on him. They're better than that. I think the Ravens are going to be okay here. I think they've got enough on defense. You start to get Marlon Humphrey back a little bit more comfortable, in the lineup, and you're probably not seeing him out there on the island against George Pickens, that way until he gets up to wherever he needs to be 100%. Because when healthy, he's one of the best in the game. So I feel like they're gonna find a way here. Baltimore is, to get this thing rolling. I do kind of wonder, kind of like the Steelers, outside of the Lamar Jackson run game, like, can they find enough with Justice Hill and with Gus Edwards? Because it just hasn't felt that way for much of this season with J.K. Dobbins out.
Yeah, missing some of that running back production, but still they're 4th in the league because Lamar adding his legs into that mix and still being such a big threat.
We want him to be healthy at the end of the year.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, like, we want to be careful with that.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. All right, speaking of those Ravens here, the NFL London games march on exclusively on NFL Network. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens face off with Derrick Henry and the Titans live from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Rise, shine, and watch a full day of football. It's Sunday Morning Football, Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network and streaming on NFL Plus. Learn more at NFL.com/international. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's rookie draft time. Spoiler alert, Bucky's doing well, Rhett's not. We'll get to that right after this.
everyone, Scott Hansen here, and this is NFL Plus, where you can catch every play all in one place. You get access to live, local, and primetime games on your mobile phone and tablet. That's every in-market game with you on the go.
I never knew that was a thing.
Oh, yeah? And here's my favorite part. You can stream NFL RedZone live every Sunday. What are you waiting for?
Game time, baby. Let's go.
Go to plus.nfl.com. Sign up today.
Oh, there you go. A little plug there from Scotty Hansen. Last week, the rookie draft went well for Bucky. He got 3 points from Bryce Young. He also got 3 points from Puka Nacua. So he comes away with 6. Me and Rhett, we tied with 3 apiece. I got the Achan 3. He got 1 point each. He was a second place finisher all the way down the board with Stroud, Spears, and Flowers. By the way, Spears, I'm going back through my notes from last week, and it looked like you took Gibbs there, Rhett.
Yeah.
So how the heck did you get a point for a guy that you didn't even take?
What was that?
Well, as it turns out, the injury report was updated a little bit as we got closer to game time, and turns out Jahmyr Gibbs was inactive. So
okay, so what's it have to do with
just like a good fantasy manager, subbed him out and then subbed Tyjae Spears back in. So don't worry about it.
Oh,
I'm taking care of it.
So we can do last.
I hit the waiver wire. Yeah, I hit the waiver wire.
But wait a minute, were you the first position on the waiver wire? I mean, was he in first position on the waiver wire?
Well, yeah, because I was in last place coming out of last week. So I was definitely first position. Yeah.
Overall for the season, Buck is in a commanding lead now. He's in first place. I'm in second. I've got some ground to make up, and Rhett's just trying to, trying to get back in the mix. But these creative tactics that he's using, maybe that'll help.
Well, the good thing, I'm like Mario Cristobal. I'm not going to take a knee. I'm going to keep running the ball. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. Okay. Well, you might fumble then.
All right. No Richardson this week. That was terrible. No Richardson this week. So we're going to take quarterbacks off the table. We're going to go back to what we've done a few weeks ago, which is tight end, wide receiver, running back. As it turns out, I have the first pick, which the longer we do this rookie draft, the more I'm realizing you don't want the first pick. I'd rather be in that 2 hole because I think you've got a chance to get 2 winners there picking in that second spot. Anyways, first pick, I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson here with the first pick. I think he's been the first pick darn near every single week, but I'm going to go Bijan. Yeah. I feel like that's a guaranteed 3 points for me. I need it. Got to have it. Buck, you're up.
Ooh, since you're going running back out the gate, I'm not going to go there because the running backs have been a little inconsistent. So let's go with. Are the Rams up? Did the Rams have a bye week? Because
no,
they don't have a bye. They're playing.
Okay, so I'm gonna take Puka. I'm gonna take a wide.
Going Puka.
Yeah, smart move.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and lock up my 3 points now and get old Sammy Laporta in at tight end.
I knew that was coming.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
So got my not a whole lot of the rookie tight ends making big-time impacts right now. So Laporta far and away the winner there. So give me Sammy, and then I will lock up I don't know if I can go Gibbs again and then have to hit the waiver wire if he's not available. So I don't think I'm going to do that.
It's a great luxury to have. It's a great luxury.
Is. I mean, it is. Yeah, I am still first in the waiver wire priority, which is great.
Nice.
But I think in that light, I'm going to end up going back to I'm going to go back to the well. I'm going to go Tyjae Spears.
Tyjae Spears. Right. Okay. All right. Tyjae Spears. Great. Tyjae Spears. I am going to go because I get a running back. I'm going to go a little off the grid, but I'm hoping that it pays off for me. How about Zach Charbonnet from the Seattle Seahawks being my running back as well?
Ooh.
Yep.
I appreciated that because that allows me to get the tight end that I want as well as the receiver that I want. So I'll go first with Jordan Addison. Justin Jefferson gone. That means a lot of balls going Jordan Addison's way. I feel great about that pick. Although I will tell you, if it had fallen another way, if Bucky had gone receiver there, I was going to go with the Tar Heel with Josh Downs to get a new name in the mix. He was on the list there. He was third, but now I've got my second guy, so I'm going to go Jordan Addison, and then I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid.
He's on my list too, as it turns out.
is going to be my tight end there. So I come away with Bijan, Addison, and Kincaid. Bucky, you are up next.
Okay, so look, we saw him play a little bit last night, and I don't think the Raiders have bye, so I'm gonna go with. Can I go with Michael Mayer? Can I go with the Raiders?
Michael Mayer, yeah.
Can I go with him? Yeah, Mayer. Let's go with Michael Mayer.
Josh Downs, 6 catches on 6 targets last week from Gardner Minshew. Kind of wonder, now that Gardner, is back in the saddle here for the next couple of weeks, if that target share is only going to increase for Downs. So I'm liking that. But Zay Flowers, is just consistent, and he's essentially the number one wide receiver.
If he catches the ball, you would have had 100 last week.
Yeah, I know. Give me Zay here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I finish up with Laporta, Tajay Spears, and Zay Flowers.
Nice. And unless something were to happen to any of these guys, maybe in the first quarter, second quarter, then you can just make a call to Drew and then throw somebody else in the mix.
Yeah, we can definitely sub that right in. It's going to be great.
And I loved it. Look, you don't have to go by. You don't have to run. I guess Drew is commissioner, but you don't have to run anything by the board or anything. You just, move rules.
No, it's nice.
No question.
It's
Learned
a nice
about
deal.
it today. That's fantastic. Yeah, good for you. Yeah. By the way, one name I want to mention here that we didn't draft, but it was in the mix here, and I think if he plays like he did last week, he is going to end up getting drafted by us. Jalil McLaughlin for the Broncos, the running back. I went back and was looking through my notes on him because he was out of Youngstown State. He's undersized, a little over 5'8", 192 pounds. He ran 4.44. The nuggets on him, huge production. He can press and bounce. Had a big 64-yard screen against Kentucky, which is interesting because he scored on the screen last week against the Jets. This is a really fun change of pace back. And if you think about Sean Payton kind of having that guy to use in the passing game, undersized, quick, athletic, there's a long list of guys he's had success with going back to Darren Sproles, probably the first one there. So a fun player there for the Broncos to keep an eye on in the future. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to kick it. Oh, go ahead, Rhett. Goodness gracious. What do you got for me here?
It's okay. I was going to say, you know what? I'll save it. Save it for next week. We'll see you next week.
Rhett is the host in him. He likes to hear as soon as I'm starting to throw it to break. Wait.
Yeah.
Amari DiMercato.
Well, if it's okay with Rhett, we're going to take a quick pause, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk sacks and quarterbacks.
Go ahead.
Is that all right,
good
Rhett?
now.
We good? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, thanks. It's time for Sacks and Quarterbacks presented by Campbell's, and we're looking at the line of scrimmage. Who you think about the offensive line protecting that quarterback, think about the defensive line getting after it. The teams that are combining those two the best, the Bills, the Cardinals, the Chargers, Dolphins, and Seahawks. They are all in the top 8 in most sacks on defense and fewest sacks allowed on offense. So really playing well along the line of scrimmage. And one of those teams I want to focus on here is the Miami Dolphins, because Buck, I feel like on the offensive side of the ball, rightfully so, with the leading the league in scoring and how dynamic they've been, putting up a 70 spot earlier this year. All the attention. Tua, MVP candidate, Tyreek, Waddle. We've seen it in the backfield with Achane and Mostert. I mean, it's offense, 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 offense. They're not going to win a championship unless the defense plays well. And they are doing one thing well, which is they're getting after the quarterback. So when you look at them, are you hopeful, optimistic this is going to continue to get better on the complete side here with that defense?
I feel good about the Miami Dolphins really making a surge down the stretch, playing great defense. And part of that is because Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is putting together a new scheme. He's trying to learn all the pieces, and he wants to make sure that he puts the players in place. Remember, this is a team that struggled last year defensively, so Fangio had to come in and clean up a lot of the stuff, and they're still adjusting to his ways. But you can already see this is a team that can use a smoke and mirrors approach to create pressure. They do a really good job of keeping the ball in front and the back end. And as they get Jalen Ramsey back and some of their other guys, they are going to be a team that can lock up and play man-to-man and really do some of the things that Vic Fangio really likes to do when it comes down to crunch time.
Yeah, and look, I mean, they feasted on a banged-up Giants offensive line this past week, 7 sacks, most in the league. And look, they've been doing it with Jalen Phillips banged up, too. Bradley Chubb is doing his part, that's for sure, off the edge. He's got the most pressures on the team. Actually, I should say tied for the most pressures on the team, because Andrew Van Ginkel has been filling in nicely. He's got a little bit less of a sample size, but he's their team leader in sacks right now with 4. And he was a 5th-round pick back in 2019. Ran out his rookie contract there, signed a 1-year deal this year with Miami, very minimal cap hit on that. And he's been feasting right now, and they're lucky to have him. He was one of those guys, DJ, that, had some production in college, but was a little bit lighter, right? And kind of playing that outside linebacker role in a 34 scheme at Wisconsin, but major athleticism. Like, you go back and look at the next gen athleticism score, and he's 3rd highest in that 2019 linebacker class, 38-inch vert, over 10-inch broad. And he ran the 3-cone at 6.89. So he clearly had the athleticism, which kind of, it gives you the traits, right, to then work with, and then somebody's got to come in and help him develop into a full-time pass rusher. And he's done really well.
Yeah, no doubt. I was going back and looking through my notes when he came out, and you mentioned all the measurables there. He was a Sam linebacker. He was excellent as a looper. That's where he picked up a bunch of sacks, just kind of running games with him, where you could use that athleticism. Big-time effort and chase. The Purdue game, I had made a note in there. You see him chase down 20 yards down the field, forces a fumble. Just incredible effort and motor, active hands, love to spin at the point of attack. So I didn't think he was super strong and sturdy, but more, kind of more athlete. I mean, shoot, he was only 241 pounds. So he kind of has to use that athleticism to get around people. But I mean, look, I'm not comparing him to Hassan Reddick, but when you think about guys that were coming out that, okay, how is he going to be big enough? He's kind of more of an athlete, speed guy. That still works. It still plays, man. And he's beating blocks and he's winning. The other one I would bring up on this Dolphins defense, and get it back to you, Buck, Javon Holland, going back through and looking at my notes on him coming out. They played a lot of 3 safety there at Oregon. He played the rover. He took good angles. Excellent tackler. I compared him at the time coming out to a biggest LaMarcus Joyner, who you remember had some safety, had some nickel flex. He always was aware. I talked about his FBI, his football intelligence, knowing down and distance, ball skills. He's a complete player. And Vic Fangio, I'd said maybe it was a week or 2 ago, he's got a chance to be one of the best safeties in the NFL if he's not already in that class. He's a really, really good player.
He is a really good player, and he's been a great player for them. And he's been able to come under the line. He's been able to come off the edge. And you saw in previous years, he can be a difference maker in a variety of different ways. As he settles in this Fangio defense, you can see he's going to be a see-ball, get-ball defender. I like what he's been able to bring to the table, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Fangio expands his role as he gets more comfortable in this scheme and within this system.
And, I don't think we can leave the conversation about this Dolphins defense without talking about arguably the most dominant part of the defense, which has been the interior. Christian Wilkins, Sealer, those dudes are absolutely wrecking offensive lines on the interior, obviously making it easy for everybody else around them as well. And so, those dudes are big-time players, and they've got some serious playmakers up and down that defensive front.
Yeah, no, they're really, really talented. It's a good group, and I think you'll see that they've been a little bit inconsistent, but it's an adjustment, I think, for Vic playing with such a dynamic offense. You call defense a little bit differently there. You're going to be playing with leads. You just don't want to give up quick scores. So that's it's interesting how that's all coming together. I want to go inside that division to another team, an individual player, Bucky, who you saw last week in AJ Epenesa. With the Bills. A career game for him, had 2 sacks, career high. 4th year, you go back to when he was coming out of the draft. I went back and pulled up my notes on him. Skilled big edge rusher, strong hands, can flip his hips. He can really finish. He's got a variety of hand moves. I thought he had a really, really high floor. He was big. He was 6'5", 275 pounds. Did not run great, was a 5.04. I thought he had an average get-off coming out of college. But Buck, when you look at the get-off numbers since he's been in the league, he's actually been excellent with that. So maybe not that long speed you're talking about, but man, that as a pass rusher, who cares? Can you get off the ball? Can you go? He's got better in that regard. You saw him play really, really well over there in London.
Yeah, he did a really good job against Cam Robinson. His get-off is something that is funny that you talked about it being average when he was in college, because it was really impressive to watch. Cat like quickness off the ball, does a great job of anticipating the snap count. And then DJ, he did what he's always done during his time at Iowa. He has a few tricks up his sleeve. He throws those out in opportune moments, and he was able to get to the quarterback twice. And it was not only getting to the quarterback using speed or turning that speed into power. It was more so being able to knock Trevor Lawrence around and get the ball out. Really good pass rusher, and he is settling in as a guy they really need, because without Greg Rousseau and with Von Miller coming back, they needed someone to step up and supply that persistent pressure. Epenesa has been the guy that's been able to do it for the Bills.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, with Rousseau out and with Miller playing, just 18 snaps this past week in his season debut. And now with Matt Milano out, you've got to have somebody that can generate, some playmaking ability in that front seven. And so, and especially with the injuries that they got in the secondary too now, with Tre'Davious White out for the rest of the year, you got to have somebody helping out back there to kind of continue, or up front rather, to help out what's going on behind them. So I think Epenesa emerging as a real playmaker for this defense in Buffalo, and continuing to help them lead the league in sacks right now at 21 is a big deal here moving forward with some of the attrition that they faced.
Yeah, his average get-off, we were talking about that, is 0.79, which I think he's been faster in the past. The same as Will Anderson, Van Ginkel, Max Crosby. So that's kind of the company he's keeping in terms of getting off the ball. So impressive there by AJ Epenesa. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to jump into this Broncos-Chiefs Thursday night battle. It looks lopsided, but it's a short week. We'll preview that one right after this.
Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here, and this is NFL Plus, where you can catch every play all in one place. You get access to live, local, and primetime games on your mobile phone and tablet. That's every in-market game with you on the go.
I never knew that was a thing.
Oh, yeah? And here's my favorite part. You can stream NFL RedZone live every Sunday. What are you waiting for?
Game time, baby. Let's go.
Go to plus.nfl.com. Sign up today.
From the Chris Wessling Podcast Studio, it's Around the NFL.
I like this game.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, the Browns.
We all know.
The Browns are in
The
it.
Falcons defense kind of looks interesting right now.
He hasn't done
Touchdown,
anything in his
like,
career
coming
yet,
back.
Meg.
Hold
Let's
on.
not act like he's done anything in his career yet.
I know the Titans are a good run defense, but Mixon has been looking a few years younger.
And Greg is looking. He's searching.
I'm about to give up.
Don't they have like an index or a table?
I don't remember.
You look like you're really trying hard.
All right, Thursday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs will be at home, which is a tough place to go on a Sunday or a Monday. It's extremely tough to go there on a short week, playing on a Thursday, and their opponent that they drew is the Denver Broncos, who are sitting at 1-4, coming off of a game where the score was, it was a close game with the Jets, but when you watched it, the Jets could have added a little bit more to that and made that a little bit of an ugly affair. But they're not a good football team, guys. Rhett, I'll go to you on this one first. My takeaway on this game, I know we're going to preview it and we can talk matchups and all that kind of stuff. It's all lopsided. My takeaway is if this goes terribly wrong, if they get their doors blown off and the Broncos lose huge in this game, they fall to 1-5, and you're a team around the league and you need a safety, aren't you calling the Denver Broncos? Are you at least trying to call on Surtain and just try on Simmons, on Surtain, like try to pluck one of these guys out of this mix and see if you can't do it while they're at their lowest. I mean, that's kind of a weird way to start this conversation, but that's what I'm looking at this game. Like, is this the game that sends them over the edge? Say, hey, let's sell, let's get out of here.
Well, look, I mean, it leads you into 10 days right before your next one. So, I mean, I think that's always a time where you wonder about change in any way, shape, or form. And obviously, head coach isn't going anywhere. I don't think the quarterback's going anywhere right now. So, I think that's something you could definitely see. I mean, I think that you'd probably rekindle the trade talks that were around Jerry Jeudy leading up to the season, Cortland Sutton, perhaps. I just, I don't know. I don't know where they go from here. You mentioned McLaughlin was a nice little find for him, averaging about 8 yards a pop on the ground in relief duty with Javonte Williams still kind of banged up. But yeah, I'd look at Simmons. I would be very hesitant if I'm the Broncos to get rid of Surtain. Great corners like that don't grow on trees. And if you want to have something to build on, going into next season, it would feel like Surtain would be one of those guys for me. Nick Bonito is a guy that's continued to come on. Is there a team that needs, an edge rusher to kind of supplement on what could be a playoff run? Maybe that's something they consider as well, Buck.
Man, we're just hitting the panic button. We're 1-4. We're ready to auction
It's over.
Off the entire team.
Stop, Buck. You don't buy this.
So they've already
stop.
No. Hold on. I'm not saying that this team is going to make a playoff run, but I'm saying we're 5 games into the Sean Payton tenure, and we're going to get rid of everybody. We just got rid of Randy Gregory last week. We're making changes, trying to figure out what's the best thing. Why would you want to give away good players? Justin Simmons is a good player. You don't want to give him away. I can see some of the other guys. Maybe you don't necessarily like the way Jerry Jeudy fits into the mix, but man, I'm not in the business of giving away good players because then I got to draft a player and hope that player is going to be as good as the one that departs. If you're Sean Payton, regardless of what it looks like on Thursday, pause, take a collective breath, see if you can get this team better down the stretch. No one expected the Broncos to be title contenders in year 1 of the Payton era.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think they had designs on getting back to the playoffs, right? I mean,
they're terrible. They're terrible.
They are.
And why not? And why not? Look, what good is it going to do you to win 4 games? And I'm not using that word that people will obviously use here, but if you want to sell off, play all your young guys, and maybe that gives you a better shot to come away with your next quarterback, you don't want to be stuck in no man's land. You don't want to be a 5-6 win team. So that would be.
And I put this question.
That's my thought
to both. Yeah, and I in a way I agree with you, and so that's why I want to ask both of you guys here. How would you describe what we've seen thus far, Sean Payton and Russell Wilson together? What does that look like? Are there things that you can point to and say, okay, maybe that's working and maybe it'll get better in an offseason. Bucky, what do you think?
Well, I mean, he's obviously a player that's on the down slope, but I think there's some salvageable things that maybe you can take from the tape if you're Sean Payton. He's done some things okay this year. You continue to build upon those things. But really, this team was supposed to be a team that could run the football, and then you would think that they would play good defense. They've really been disappointing in both of those areas. Yes, a lot of attention will fall on Russell Wilson. He has to pick up his play. But I would say before we can take everything to task, man, the defense gave up a 70-burger a couple weeks ago.
They've been terrible.
And then offensively, we can't run. Before we can get to it, I got to make sure that the coaches are putting together the right scheme to give the players the best chance to be successful. I don't know if we can confidently say that's been the case.
Well, and look, and we're not even going to, apologies to the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to win this football game. We're not going to spend much time talking about them. They're fine. They're winning football games. They still haven't played their best ball, but they're still the Chiefs. And they're going to, in my opinion, they're going to win this game comfortably. But to me, the storyline is in Denver. And Buck, one more thing on this, and then I'll get us moving here. But the other name I would consider, man, Garrett Bowles has one more year left on his contract. He's a good tackle. So, I mean, if you have a need there, hold on one second. Jets. Oh man, sorry, clear my throat. I would at least try and make a phone call there on that one.
Close look at him.
Close look. And do you think the Jets would be not the Jets? Do you think the Broncos would be willing to send Garrett Bowles to the Jets, considering how Sean Payton viewed the coaching that was done there? I don't think that will happen. I don't think that will. I don't think that'll kind of. I don't
I'm
see
just
that
saying,
one
make
happening.
a call. Hey, they can hang up on you. I'm just saying, just make the call. That's all I'm getting at there. The NFL London games march on exclusively on NFL Network as Lamar Jackson and the Ravens face off with Derrick Henry and the Titans. Live from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, rise, shine, and watch a little football. It's Sunday Morning Football Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network and streaming on NFL Plus. Learn more at NFL.com/international. All right, it's time for Road Warriors, presented by Courtyard by Marriott, and this is one that's taking place, another one overseas here. We got Ravens, Titans getting after it over there, and Buck, you were just over there for 2 weeks. I'm curious, before we get into the matchup here with Ravens and Titans, do you get any feedback from the players on the adjustment and how long it takes to get settled when you're going overseas?
Yeah, it takes a while depending on where you're coming from. I mean, you talk about 5-6 hour time change and trying to get your body clock right. I know the Buffalo Bills struggled with that. They came in on a Friday to play a Sunday game, and they looked lethargic at the beginning. The Jaguars, the first weekend, came in on a Thursday and worked out immediately. Maybe there's something to be said for it. I will say this. It's not only the body clock adjustment, but there have been some discussion about the turf and how slick it can be and making sure you have the right shoes and all that. So there are a lot of little things that you have to kind of work through as you're getting ready to play a game. So for both of these teams, man, it'd be a lot of adjusting on the fly.
Yeah, I look at this Tennessee team, and really the strength of their team is that defensive front. They can get so much interior push and so much interior pressure, which you're going to have to do here against Lamar Jackson. Get him off his spot, make him uncomfortable. I think they've got a chance to do that with this matchup. Now, on the other side of it, Rhett, the Ravens had opportunities against a very good defense with the Steelers. They couldn't catch the football. They got to be better in that regard in this one to win this ball game. I think most areas favor the Ravens in this one, but I'm telling you, that defensive front for the Titans can cause a big, big problem.
And I agree with you. And if the Ravens and look, Lamar Jackson, obviously as elusive as it comes in the pocket. So if he can buy a little bit of time, I think there's an opportunity for the Ravens receivers and for Mark Andrews to find some space against this Tennessee Titans secondary. I think they're bottom third right now in pass defense per game. So I think if they can figure out a way to keep Lamar clean just long enough, I think Zay Flowers, obviously, after I took him in our fantasy draft this week, I feel like he's going to have a big day against the Tennessee Titans. So I feel really good about that. I mean, as long as the Ravens don't hurt themselves in epic fashion like they did this past week, I feel like they've got a good shot to go in there and win this football game against Tennessee.
I just wonder how much longer we're going to have this experiment with the Baltimore Ravens in this offensive approach. Like we're trying to throw it all over the yard. It hasn't looked great. We had 7 drop passes. And I just know you got Lamar Jackson. We've been able to run the football the last 3 years. Yeah, but you don't. But you didn't. So I don't know what to do. I just know that the more they throw, the more they drop, and the more I'm over here yearning for them to go back to running the football. How much longer does this offensive experiment, how long do they continue with it before they get serious and say, hey, man, we got to win games. If not, we're going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to the postseason.
All right, as we're looking at this matchup, I'm going to go give you a little story time here to kind of wrap this one up. I was working for the Baltimore Ravens, playing the Tennessee Titans in the playoffs. You think about the history of those teams. Obviously, you had the Billick game where we talked about you going there with the spear and all that kind of stuff. And there was the intense rivalry. So this Ravens Super Bowl year, they go into Nashville. They beat the Tennessee Titans. So this is a couple years after that. It's a wild card game, I believe. We're playing the Titans. And at that point in time, Ray Lewis is the Defensive Player of the Year. He's the best defensive player in football, and there's not even anybody that's close. And a big part of it was intimidation. And you'd introduce him. It was one of the first teams, I think they had like the full fire and everything. Ray would come out, do his dance, do the squirrel dance. And the stadium, it was as loud as I've ever heard a stadium. It went nuts. So and most teams, they already be out in the field, and their whole sidelines watching this whole thing take place. Well, in that game, they decide under Jeff Fisher that they're going to warm up on the opposite end of the field while we're doing our introductions, and while Ray Lewis is coming out, the whole team is facing the other end zone, and they're running plays on air. I'd never seen anything like it. It was so bizarre looking, but they went out of their way, Buck, to not let their players see that or get wrapped up in that or try and say, oh my gosh, it's the great Ray Lewis and all this kind of stuff. It was a genius move by Jeff Fisher.
And did it turn out well for them? Did it turn out well for the Tennessee Titans?
They won. Yeah, the Titans won a game. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so then that's what you got to do. So I think maybe Mike Vrabel wants to take some of the same thing, like, hey, let the Ravens come out, do all the other stuff. We'll be down here going perfect play. maybe do PATs and punts and all that other stuff.
Sure.
Have our back to the Ravens when they're coming out.
Yeah,
and they may or may not have had an agreement, Rhett, by the way. They may or may not have had an agreement that anybody that could bait Orlando Brown, the late, great Orlando Brown, into a penalty might have been rewarded. I don't know. I'm not lobbing any accusations out there. I'm just saying that maybe it was a rumor that was floating around.
Yeah, but it's going to be a big game. Tyjae Spears and Zay Flowers going off in this game. Just you heard it here first.
Rhett always loyal to his rookies. Which, if you watch the show, you know that Red is loyal to them up until they aren't playing well. Then he calls Drew and tries to get him out of the lineup and make a substitution. That's how that works.
Yes.
Very, very ethical. Very ethical. All right, that's a good note to wrap it up on. Appreciate you guys hanging with us here. Would encourage you again on the podcast front. Go download it, subscribe, listen to it. Leave us a rating and review. We do appreciate those. Appreciate you always watching all our content, consuming it, listening to it, and we'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.